Good morning, Metalheads Internet. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown, and today we're looking at a brand new EP from Crimson Shadows entitled The Resurrection. That's right, we have yet another EP from yet another Toronto metal band, because as always, y'all know I can't resist talking about metal from my neck of the woods. And this particular band, Crimson Shadows, is very interesting because they've been around for quite a while, have enjoyed some moderate success within the Toronto rock and metal scene, and I think they're one of the few bands that are really trying to take power metal into some exciting, dynamic, and invigorating new territory, as they combine the hyper-technical and explosive shred of Dragon Force with the burly and macho Swedish death metal of a band like Amon Amarth, creating something genuinely epic and brutal with a lot of creative flair and technical prowess, ultimately standing out as one of my favorite bands in the Toronto metal scene, and as such I have been very patiently awaiting the release of a new record, as it has been nearly 6 years since the band's last studio release, Kings Among Men. Now, they have played a few shows here and there since then, notably with Battlecross, Ailstorm, Aether Realm, but again, this is the first taste of new music we've had from the band in a long time, and with that in mind, I would say to longtime fans that there's a chance you could be disappointed, as we're not really getting any new material. This EP, to somewhat paraphrase Crimson Shadows, has really only been put out to remind you of the band's older material as they prepare for the next studio album. As this EP only features 3 songs, 2 of which are covers, one of which is a re-recording of one of Crimson Shadows' oldest known tracks. Now, that's not to say you still can't enjoy this EP, but if you are a longtime fan craving new material, you might have to exercise a little bit more patience, because we are not technically getting anything new. On the flip side though, unless you are well versed in the realm of Toronto metal and rock, there's a good chance this is your first time even hearing about Crimson Shadows, so this may very well not be a huge obstacle at all, if it even is an obstacle. In fact, the bigger obstacle here is probably the very simple fact that this is just a very explosive and eccentric EP, as Crimson Shadows immediately assault you like some kind of ancient monster just recently awoken and disturbed in their slumber. Vocals come at you fast, drums come at you fast, hyper-technical barrages of dazzling guitar weave in and out of the forefront of the sound, coming at you even faster, hitting you with the veracity of the aforementioned Dragon Force, a comparison that Crimson Shadows must be anticipating because they do actually perform a Dragon Force cut on here. That one being Blackfire, taken all the way from the band's debut album, Valley of the Damned. I really like the extreme flavors introduced and implemented into this song. I think that the insanity of melodic death metal and hyper-extreme music pairs quite naturally with the insanity of power metal, the over-the-top nature, the explosive attacks, the explosive batterings, particularly from a band like Dragon Force, which, let's all be totally honest with ourselves, are like the premier power metal band multiplied by 10 and injected with a pound of cocaine. The other cover of Stratovarius's Against the Wind is also a really enjoyable cut. I'm not really familiar with Stratovarius, so I can't say this with absolute confidence, but I can say, based on my immediate knowledge of Stratovarius, just based on the music that I do remember, that I have never heard any Stratovarius song sound quite this heavy. But let's be honest here, the real star is the 8.5 extreme power metal beast of Betrayed by Thy King. This one track displays everything I really enjoy about Crimson Shadows, everything I really enjoy about this totally insane, chaotic fusion of melodic death metal and power metal that they have constructed. It's got moody acoustic passages, it's got vicious gutturals, it's got a big chorus, it's got super flashy guitar porn littered all over the place. An undeniable banger that shows Crimson Shadows at their fierce and most confident, not just on this EP, but frankly on any Crimson Shadows release prior to this. I don't think even the original Betrayed by Thy King had this much firepower and vitriol within it. Under more normal circumstances, I would say that this album left me really hungry, craving for more material, therefore leaving me a little bit unsatisfied, but I have to concede that this is an EP, and as an EP functions more like an appetizer rather than a full meal. And with that in mind, as an appetizer, works pretty damn effectively. I will also concede that considering this is the first time a lot of people have heard Crimson Shadows, that this is probably the best way to introduce Crimson Shadows through this shorter, more digestible 17-minute burst as opposed to a massive, bloated, elongated 60-minute epic. We are ultimately dealing with two objectively extreme and semi-ridiculous genres, and it would be absolutely overwhelming to try and shove this down your throat upon first gaze. And with all that in mind, I'm just going to shut my mouth and say that if everything I've talked about so far sounds exciting to you, if you love death metal, if you love power metal, and you ever wanted to see both thrown together into a really funky smoothie, that you need to check out The Resurrection and in turn Crimson Shadows. With that in mind, I would give this a 3.5 out of 5. Now, I don't know for sure if Crimson Shadows actually does have a full-blown studio album on the way, especially considering what COVID-19 is doing to the music industry right now, doing to traveling musicians, and doing to the local scene here in Toronto as restaurants and bars and most businesses are forced to shut down, frankly making it very difficult to go out and buy records and go see bands, you know. It's kind of a shitty time to be a musician right now. But if there is an album on the way, you know I will be keeping an eye out for it, as I think Crimson Shadow's particular brand of extreme power metal is something that power metal desperately needs right now. Of all the metal subgenres, I feel like it's the one I'm seeing the least amount of imagination and innovation coming out of, as bands are kind of repeating and recycling the kind of meat and potatoes formula with glossy synthesizers and guitars over and over and over again. You know, and in comes Crimson Shadows, who very clearly love Carcass and In Flames and At the Gates and the Black Dahlia Murder as much as they love Stradivarius and Dragon Force and Blind Guardian and Hammerfall and a lot of other power metal. It's an exciting and refreshing appetizer that, for the time being, leaves me satisfied and fulfilled, so long as I don't have to wait too long for the inevitable main course. 3.5 out of 5, very good. Check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Make sure you wash your fucking hands as well and stay safe out there. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.